Okay, so that's cool. We've actually written a very simple program to accept two pieces of information, the score from the test and then the total score, and then calculate and display the percentage. So what we're going to do now is extend our program so that we can check what the percentage was and then give them a letter grade depending on the range that the percentage fell within. Okay, so the way we're going to do that, it's kind of very similar to where we were before. So 15 out of 25, for instance, we calculate the percentage, but we are going to use their percentage, whatever their answer was, and we're going to compare that against various ranges, and if it fits in or falls within a certain range, we are going to display the correct letter grade that corresponds to that. So in order to do that, because we are calculating the percentage and displaying it, okay? And that's all we're doing with it. But now we are going to display the percentage as we did before, but we're going to also use it as, to compare the ranges with as well. So because we're going to reuse this information later, what we're going to do is do this calculation, okay? Actually, I'll delete this line. Okay, we're going to take that calculation and we're going to put it into a variable, okay? So we're going to put that into a variable called P, which stands for percentage. You know what? I'm actually going to use a word here just to show you the different ways that it can be done. So we're going to take the calculation, store it into a variable so we can reuse it later without having to recalculate or perform that calculation again. Okay, so we've done that calculation, we're storing it into a variable. We're going to display the percentage, so everything should work like it did before, okay? But now we have this result also sitting inside the percentage variable. So at this point, we're going to do the comparisons, okay, and see where it kind of fits. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use a statement in Python called the if statement. So the if statement in Python is used to make a decision. So Python's going to use this line of code that we're going to type now to make a yes or no decision. And depending on whether the decision is yes or the outcome is yes or no, that's going to control what it does next. So after we type in the if keyword, whatever follows that here is going to be a Boolean expression. Okay, so a Boolean expression is an expression that will evaluate to either true or false only. Okay, so it's a true or false question. So what we're going to do is, if we think about the percentage and we think about how that can be broken down into ranges, I'm going to do something where I'm going to check for the A grade first, and then the B, C, D, and then no pass. Okay, so in order to determine whether we have earned an A grade, I'm going to check whether our percentage score. Okay, so this is me using the variable. Once again, notice the variable is not on the left-hand side of the equal sign like it is here. Okay, it is sitting by itself, which means it is going to Python's going to look inside that variable and substitute whatever value it finds here in order to evaluate the expression. Okay, so if percentage is, so how do we get an A? We get an A if our percentage is greater than or equal to 80. Okay, so notice this is the condition. Notice this is a Boolean expression because it can only ever be true or false, and we have a variable on the left-hand side here, the left-hand side of this comparison operator. So this is the greater than or equal to sign. It's actually two symbols, and this we've seen in maths as the greater than or equal to symbol with the stroke underneath the arrow, right? But here is actually two symbols. So if percentage is greater than or equal to 80, so the other thing we need to remember with Python is that we must always conclude our if statement, or the line of code with our if statement, with a colon. Okay, that's just one of the rules in Python. If we don't have it there, it won't like it. Okay, so we need to do that. So in this case, we're checking the condition. If it's greater than or equal to 80, if I press enter at this point, you may notice that the code has now been pushed in a little bit, and the cursor, rather than sitting right flush on the left-hand side here, is now blinking with a little space before it. This is saying that any code that has been indented or has been pushed in, those lines of code would only run if the condition above it was true. Okay, so what will follow here will be an optional line of code that will only run if percentage was greater than or equal to 80. Okay, so in this case, all we're going to do is just a print function that says you got an A, all right, or you scored an A. Okay, and maybe we can add some extra congratulations here as well. Okay, because we're being very encouraging teachers. Okay, so you've scored an A. Congratulations. So that line will only run if our percentage is greater than or equal to 80. So let's run this now and test. So let's say we're going to type in they got 80 out of 100. Well, that's going to be 80%, and it should say you scored an A, because 80 as a percentage inside that variable is indeed greater than or equal to 80. Let's run that with another condition. Let's say 90 out of 100. Okay, your percentage was 90. You scored an A. Congratulations. Let's test it with something less than 80. So if I did this, okay, so this is clearly less than 80, what do you think the program will do? Will it produce an error and blow up and refuse to work? Or will it not display something? Or will it display you didn't get an A? Or would it do something else? Okay, so have a think about that. And I'm going to press enter now and see what happens. Okay, it will display your percentage was 79, so it calculates that, but then it doesn't display anything afterwards, okay? So I'm going to use this step button here to show you what's happening with our Python code one line at a time. This is just really running the program in slow motion. Okay, so we're looking at this line here. Let's go next. So what score did you achieve? So I'm going to type in 79. I'll press enter. Notice it goes to the next line of code. It's doing one line of code at a time. Let's click next. What was its total score? That's 100. Press enter. It's going to display your percentage was. There it is. It's then going to calculate the it's going to do the calculations and put it inside the percentage variable. Okay, so you can actually see this table down here that is keeping a track of the variables and the values that we have inside it. Okay, so this is just a useful little table down here that will help us see inside what's going on with our variables. So we can get, it's kind of like opening up the bonnet of our car and taking a look at the engine and seeing where all the fuel and oil and electricity is going on. Okay, so we have percentage as 79. That's what's calculated. So obviously when we print the percentage, we should see 79, which we do. Okay, then we get to this line of code. Percentage, well, percentage is 79. We can tell that from the table here. If that's greater than or equal to 80, it will display this. If it's not, then it won't do that indented line of code. There is no more lines of code after that, so the program will finish. Okay, it won't produce an error, it won't do something else. Okay, it will just finish because there are no lines of code that are unindented or that are not indented underneath that if statement. Okay,